Hey everybody, it's Tiqqle, and in this video we're going over the Monk Conduits in the Shadowlands Alpha. This just recently came out, something to test. We're going to jump right into it. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out those Monk Soulbinding Conduits. Now if you don't know what that is, I have a different video that goes over the entire process and system of picking the Covenant, going in here and checking out these trees, but I'll just give you a quick recap right now. Number one, this is the Venthyr. This is the only one that's available on the alpha right now to test, but you basically, when you choose them, you basically get these three different soul binds to go to. They have different, basically, talent trees that give you different abilities, right? Like Door of Shadows, increases movement speed, etc. And once you start to go down those trees, you get these open slots, and that's what this video is about. We're going to talk about the different types of conduits and what they look like for Monk specifically. I've done the video for Mage, Warrior. I'll put those down below. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the conduits come in three different forms. Number one, Endurance. This is a more defensive conduit. They are Finesse conduit. This is more utility, pure utility, you'll see. And then Potency. Potency is damage. It's augmenting your offensive capabilities. Now, each tree here, which you can switch between very easily, has at least two of each of those. So this tree has 3 Endurance, 2 Potency, 2 Finesse. This one has 3 Finesse, 2 Potency, 2 Endurance. Now, you may have to think about when you choose the tree, hey, I want this many of this Potency, or this many conduits, because that might be a bigger driver of your decision making than these abilities, because they can be in some cases quite minor. But with that being said, let's go ahead and look at Monk. Now, like Mage, Monk, I'm expecting the fact that we have 3 different specs, and they will be different depending on the spec, but in Mage, Endurance and Finesse were all the same. So we're going to have to see how that works out. Let's start with Windwalker, one I'm a little bit more familiar with. You can see here that there's 1, 2, 3 Endurance ones, these 3 for Windwalker. If I go to, let's just double check. Okay, Brewmaster also has 3. Mistweaver has 3. So it does appear that, yep, it looks like every spec will have the same Finesse and Endurance. So that's kind of nice for us while we're reviewing it. And remember, this is just on the beta. This is not how you acquire the conduits. The conduits will be able to be achieved through doing different world activities, similar to what it was in Artifact Weapons in Legion. Now let's go ahead and go through it. Number 1, Fortifying Ingredients. Fortifying Brewing grants you a shield equal to 5% of your max health. Of your health, I should say. It doesn't say max health. I wonder if it is max health. But this is an Endurance one. These first 3 will be Endurance. Remember, this is more defensive. So clearly, that's going to be more defensive. Expel Harm Healing is increased by 20%. Ooh, that's nice. Especially for PvP. That's actually a pretty good self-healing mechanism that monks have. And every monk now has Expel Harm, I believe. So yeah. I'll also put down the video in the description my review of monks on Shadowlands 2 in case you're not sure what changed for a monk. Our next, when casting Vivify on yourself, its heal is increased by 10% and it has a chance to refund its cost. Okay. Now these are quite minor, and that's I think their intention, but they do little things that are defensive. And that's kind of nice. Now, those white numbers in there in the green text, maybe those will be able to be buffed up later. It's a little unclear. Maybe the potency of the conduits gets stronger over time, or maybe based on your renown. And again, I'll put down in the description of their videos to explain what those things mean. But let's go on to the Finesse. The Finesse one's for Monk. Now, first we have Dizzying Tumble. Targets affected by your leg sweep deal 5% less damage for 5 seconds. I'm assuming they mean after your leg sweep effect is over, but okay, okay, that seems very PvP oriented. This is another one, Tumbling Technique. Sounds like a laundry machine. Blackout Kick has a 5% chance to grant a charge of roll. What? We're going this one, dude. I wonder if you can stack them. We bought 4. We bought 5 on accident. Okay. Next one, Lingering Numbness. Another Finesse one. When paralysis ends, your target movement speed is reduced. Oh, that's kind of nice. By 60%. Okay. And then lastly, Swift Transcendence. Transfer increases your movement speed by 10%. Okay, so when you pour it, it increases your movement speed. These are actually pretty cool. And they're a little bit... These are pretty clearly PvP. Leg Sweep one could be nice for Mythic Plus. This one is just a meme. The Tumbling Technique, that's really cool. And the Transfer Technique, increased movement speed. What I like about all of these we've seen is that none of these give you a secondary passive that you have to monitor to change your gameplay around. These all let you be a monk, let you use your skills in your spellbook, let you use your talents, You play the game, and it actually just gets better. Through these things, not through buffs, not through secondary passives you have to be stacking or monitoring, but it does make your existing abilities do a little bit more healing, a little bit more slowing, or a debuff to a different target. We like those things. Because that is not what Battle for Azeroth is. Battle for Azeroth is monitor secondary stats for buffing certain things, for whatever it is, especially for like Shaman. You have to stack so many of these or else you're doo-doo. You get these secondary buffs. They're a big deal. Your playstyle has to kind of rotate around that. So, and I know that's not for every class. I'm a little jaded by that for Shaman. But I think this is a much better way. It's a much cleaner way of playing World of Warcraft. So let's go ahead and move on. The next set, and you, as you may have noticed, there's 3 endurances, there's 4 finesse. I don't know if this is the number that there will eventually be, but again, remember, you're going to have to pick 2 from each of these at minimum for your trees. Potentially, right? Now, the next are the potency. It looks like there are 5 potencies, and these will change depending on the spec you are. So let's go ahead and get to it. Inner Fury. Fist of Fury damage. What? Fist of Fury damage is increased by 20%. All right. Everything I said before. We got to ratchet it down, Blizzard. 20% is a huge number. And it also depends on how the scaling is going to work, right? Because Blizzard could undertune Fist of Fury intentionally by 15% and say, well, we know they're going to choose this ability. Or this conduit, likely. They pretty much have to, right? So you go into that knowing that, so they can undertune things or tune things with conduits in mind. So keep that in mind before you rage. But this actually seems extremely strong. In PvP, Fist of Fury was it was almost their number one damaging ability after N'Zoth. N'Zoth things like, whatever. It actually just is their number one. And with that being said, increasing that by 20%, you might be thinking to yourself, what's going on here? Well, Monk has had a bunch of other reworking things done to the class, so maybe it's okay, maybe it's warranted. I know in PvE it's been having a tough time getting a spot in the raid or in Mythics, but so be it. 20%. That's freaking huge. Next, calculated strikes. Spinning crane kick bonus from striking a unique target with Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, or Rising Sun Kick is increased by an additional 10%. Okay. What is that talking about? Spinning crane damage is increased by 10% for each unique target you've struck within the last 15 seconds. Okay, so that's going to make that up to 25% additional damage. That's quite a cleaving capability we're building up. Okay. Coordinated offense. When Storm, Earth, and Fire spirits fixate on the same target, they deal additional 10%. Okay. All right, that seems not that big of a deal. That one doesn't blow my mind. Zwen's Bond. Abilities that activate combo strikes reduce the cooldown of the Invoke Zwen, the White Tiger, by 0.5 seconds, and Zwen's damage is increased by 10%. That's pretty nice, reducing cooldown of an offensive DPS cooldown. Yeah, that's pretty nice. This one doesn't have one. Okay, so Windwalker has some cool stuff. Has a lot of buffing of damage, has a lot of healing utility, and even mobility in CC. Like, this is a lot. This is a pretty good package, to be honest. These conduits are looking pretty nice for Windwalker, I gotta say. We went through Mage, we went through Warrior, those were okay. This is quite a bit of control. And increased damage by 20% on anything? Jeez. All right, let's go ahead and move to Mistweaver next. Again, we're only going to go over the potency ones, which are the more offensive, and in this case, this will be the first healing one I've seen. So, Jade Bond, abilities that activate Gust of Mist, which is my mastery, reduce the cooldown on Invoke Yu'lon, the Jade Serpent, by 0.6 seconds, and the Breath of the Healing is increased. So, okay, so this is just, again, similar to what we just saw. Using abilities is going to reduce the cooldown and potentially buff a little bit. Your other heals, that's pretty cool. Resplendent Mist. Gust of Mist has a 30% chance. What? Why? What? Gust of Mist has a 30% chance to do 25% more healing? RNG healing. Blizzard. I don't know about this one. I don't think that players usually like RNG. Sometimes I like shamans, like my Flame Shock has a chance to proc a Lava Burst instant cast. That's cool. I like that from a rotation standpoint, but like expecting throughput and having that be RNG is, I think, kind of slippery path you're on here. But 25% is quite a bit more as well. 30% chance to do more. It's kind of interesting. Huh, okay. Instead of just saying, it will do additional healing. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure about that one. Rising Sun Kick reduces the remaining cooldown on Revival by 1 second, and Revival heals targets for 10% of Revival's heal over 10 seconds. Okay, so it's buffing the heal that Revival gives and also reducing the cooldown on your Blackout Kick, which is actually a Rising Sun Kick. Okay, it's kind of nice, especially if you're in there meleeing and doing your DPS rotation, trying to help your team. I think there is also... I'll have to find it. I think it's in my monk video about monks, but and healing and how that is affected by your DPS rotation, how that can be helped. So this is kind of nice if you're hopefully going to be more Way of the Craney in Shadowlands. Nourishing Chi, Life Cocoon increases healing over time if received by an additional 15%, and this bonus lingers for an additional 6 seconds after the shield is broken. Okay, it's kind of nice. PvP wise, that is pretty strong. This one is not completed. Okay, this one, Imbued Reflections, it actually sounds like this will be one that will go off the Covenant ability. As you've seen, this has not had any modifications to the Covenant ability, and usually what I've seen through the Mage and the Warrior is that there is some conduits for the Potency that do modify or enhance or alter the Covenant ability. And the Covenant ability for Monk, I don't have it yet. Maybe that's why, but yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Let's go to the Brewmaster last. Again, we're just going straight to Potency. Celestial Effervescence. While under the effect of Celestial Brew, your effects that heal you are increased. Okay, so increased healing received. That's kind of nice. That's actually pretty good, and I do hope that, I mean, I don't know. In BFA, I saw a lot of Warrior tanks and a lot of Bear tanks. I did not see a lot of DH tanks. I didn't see a lot of Brewmasters. Now, I'm not saying they're not good. I think Brewmasters were actually pretty decent in Raider IO, but I know that Warriors were outpacing everyone. I hope there is some balance there. I hope the Mythic scene is able to be a little bit more kind of nudged along here. Shuffle grants your stagger 5% additional effectiveness. Okay, that's pretty nice. Making your stagger, making the debuff that you get that kind of takes incoming damage and makes it into a dot more effective. That's pretty good. And again, this isn't a huge number, 5%. It's just kind of like, okay, nice. And built up with other things, maybe it's worthwhile. Cag Smash deals an additional 20% damage to targets affected by Breath of Fire. That's really nice, because this could be, you could build maybe more damage into your, obviously Potency is supposed to be damage, but this is like healing. As a tank, you would think maybe Potency, oh no, wait, this is Endurance. Oh, yeah, these are Endurance. Oh, that's very interesting. So, I'm sorry, these were Endurance. This one is Endurance, and this one's Endurance. That kind of makes sense because it's not increasing your damage. Under the effects of, yeah, interesting. So I guess tanks have additional Endurances, but the other DPS and heal specs have more Potencies. Okay, that kind of makes sense, Endurance being more tank-oriented. That's exactly what I was about to say, was that these are things that are more defensive, making your roll more potent, right? So, but anyway, Endurance, that's fine. So the Potency ones are Cag Smash is doing 20% more damage. This one is Walk with the Ox. Abilities that grant Shuffle reduce the cooldown on Invoke. I'm not going to pronounce that. The Black Ox by 0.5 seconds, and the Stomp deals an additional 10% damage. Okay. And then this one is for the Covenant ability. So, okay, so that's pretty interesting. You get more Endurance once through this. Now, let's say you're going to be a tank, right? You will have to, as I mentioned earlier, maybe you want to say, okay, well, I want to go this tree so I can get Endurance. And I might pick my path based on my conduits, not based on what these abilities are. Because, like, look, this is while above 80%, you gain 1% agility, stacking up to 5 times. Like, that's great, but I really want that. I really want that effectiveness of stagger, as well as the other two. So bing, bang, boom, I'll get those in there. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty important. Now, the one other thing that I haven't tested yet is this. If I take a Windwalker conduit and I try to put it in, so I'm in a Windwalker right now. Let me try to buy an Endurance one for tank, and I'll try to put that in. Oh, I can put that in there. It's kind of weird. Maybe this is just because the vendor is here and I can buy it, and that therefore I can put it in. Maybe in the normal gameplay I won't be able to get those conduits because it'll be based on my specialization. But this is something to be aware of, and I'll put in a ticket about this, because in Battle for Azeroth, you could go like a Ret Paladin, choose your Azerite traits, and then switch to Holy Paladin and keep those Azerite traits. This is something we have to be a little bit careful of. Obviously, it doesn't look like it's a big deal if I'm just doing Shuffle, right? But it could be a big deal if there's certain other abilities, like in that case, the one I just used, right? When I put this in here, it actually does nothing for a Windwalker, so it's not like a risk of breaking the game. But some classes that share cooldowns, like Paladins and their wings, right? That is something that is shared. Or there could be defensives, right? Or healing throughput ones. Like, for example, if I go back to Mistweaver and I pick, let's just see, Rising Sun Kick reduces cooldown. No, I don't have Revival. Gust of Mist, no. Maybe they've already thought this through, but it's something to just be aware of, Blizzy. Life Cocoon, yeah, it doesn't. Okay, cool. It doesn't look like it's the case that there's game-breaking things for this class, but there could be. There definitely could be, especially with things like Paladins and other like Priests or something like that. But with that being said, guys, that's it. That's the Monk breakdown of their Conduits. I hope you are as excited as I am. The new X-Pact is going to be good. But with that being said, let me know what you think down in the comments below of the Monks. And let me know what other things you want me to see. I'll be doing Legendary crafting soon and other things as well. We'll be doing those things on stream as well. So definitely come by twitch.tv/tickle this. Ask me any questions. I will hop in the alpha. I will do exactly what you ask. And with that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.